The first ever 12-team college football playoff is here, and I am going to be reacting to who's playing who and the overall seeding. This is not a prediction video. I will be making a separate prediction video when the time comes. This is just my initial reaction to the rankings themselves. Okay, we'll start off with the obvious ones, the teams that are getting the bye. Number 1 overall, Oregon. No surprise, they're undefeated. They're the best team in college football. It would be a catastrophe if they weren't the number 1 overall seed. Number 2, the winner of the SEC, Georgia. Again, no arguments here. They won the SEC fair and square. They deserve that number 2 spot. Number 3, Boise State. Again, I don't have a problem with Boise State being here. They played well enough this entire season. Only one loss, and that one loss is a 3-point loss to Oregon. And they got themselves a first-round bye and the 3 seed. And number 4 seed, which I know some people could have viewed as controversial, whatever, Arizona State. Meaning the ACC did not get a first-round bye. It's Big Ten, SEC, Mountain West Conference, and the Big 12. I don't have a problem personally with Arizona State getting that 4 seed and, the final first-round bye. I can see where some people are upset it's not Clemson, but I don't think it's overly fair to give Clemson that first-round bye, especially with how competitive their game was compared to Arizona State, who just dominated, right? Arizona State dominated in their championship game. Clemson did not. It was more competitive. I feel even though Arizona State may not be considered the better team, Arizona State deserved this bid more. They got themselves a first-round bye and number 4 overall. Now let's get into the initial matchups. 5 versus 12. Texas Longhorns versus Clemson. I was so fucking worried that the playoff committee was going to absolutely fuck Texas over, and they didn't. They didn't. Thank the Lord. Thank God. Texas. I'm willing to take this side of the bracket. I really, really am. They got to play Clemson in the first round, which is a home game for Texas. I believe Texas can steamroll Clemson. And then they would go and play Arizona State in a neutral site. This is perfect for Texas. 2 winnable games to give them momentum heading into the semifinal. Now, that semifinal matchup might be super difficult, but at least Texas is going to be riding on the momentum, assuming they beat Clemson and Arizona State. Clemson, I can see where some people are upset. They got the 12 seed, right? Because they won the ACC. And SMU got a higher seed than them. Arguably a more favorable side of the bracket. So if you're a Clemson fan, I can kind of see how you're pissed. Because SMU got a much better bracket than than Clemson. But I don't give a fuck. I got my Texas futures, and I was so distraught after they lost the SEC championship. I was like, fuck, they're going to get fucked. The season was so good just for it all to end here. And now we're alive, baby. We're alive. My Texas futures are alive, and they are still going to win the Natty. I still got full-blown confidence. This is going to be a great game, by the way. Absolutely great game. I'm sure you guys know who I'm going to pick to win it. But maybe who I'm going to pick against the spread might surprise you. But in any case, that's not the point of this video. This is just my reaction to the actual matchup. That's the 5 versus 12. The 6 versus 11. Penn State versus SMU. To a certain extent, I'm a little bit surprised Penn State was ranked over Notre Dame. Notre Dame definitely had a much better record and should be above Penn State. I guess the argument's made that Notre Dame's one loss was so bad, arguably the worst in the entire playoff. Out of all the playoff teams, it was the worst one, to Northern Illinois. And Penn State's 2 losses were to Ohio State and Oregon, the 2 best teams in the Big Ten, or at least, in theory. So even though I can see the argument being made for Notre Dame over Penn State. I think the playoff committee as well was very focused on matchups too. And matchup-wise, they played it correctly. The Penn State Rapists, though, I gotta admit, got super fucking lucky. Similar to Texas, they have a very easy path to the semifinal. It's not that easy, but considering Penn State's biggest weakness is playing against teams that, they struggle against the bigger teams, right? The bigger teams is where Penn State loses. You get to play SMU in the first round. SMU had a great season, but they're not a big team by no means. And same thing with Boise State. Boise State had a great season, but Boise State hadn't had they're that big of a team. Penn State has a good path to the semifinal. Do I believe they can make it there? We'll get there to my predictions. We'll have to wait for my predictions to see that. But in any case, Penn State played well enough, I guess, versus Oregon to get them the number 6 overall seed and a home playoff game. That place is going to be fucking crazy. That Penn State home playoff game is going to be fucking crazy. They might have to let Jerry Sandusky out of jail for this shit. 11th seed was SMU. SMU lost to Clemson, but was rated higher than Clemson, which, by the way, I'm not the biggest fan of how this seeding system has worked. For example, like this, why would SMU lose and get the easier matchup than Clemson and get ranked higher than Clemson? A little bit strange, but again, I'm sure the College Football Playoff Committee has full-blown explanation for it. In any case, SMU deserved to be in the playoff. I'm glad they didn't put the fucking fraudulent-ass Alabama team over SMU. SMU had a great season. They played well enough against Clemson, made a good comeback to get themselves into the playoff. It's going to be a great game. This is going to be a great game. I am excited for this game. The craziest part is I don't even think this is the most exciting game of the first round. The other two games I haven't even discussed, in my opinion, I am so hyped for. This one I'm hyped for, but the other two I'm over the moon for. SMU's a great team. Penn State's a great team. It's going to be an unbelievable battle, and winner gets to take on Boise State. I like it. I really, really like it. It's going to be very, very interesting to see how a good Penn State defense matches up against a potent SMU offense. I really want to see this shit. It's going to be entertaining, and I don't mind this matchup at all, even though it's a bit weird, right? Both of these teams, you could argue, should not be in this position, but fuck it. It's going to be interesting as is. The next game, we're going to go to the 7 versus 10 matchup, where number 7 Notre Dame is taking on number 10 Indiana. What a game this is going to be. What a game this is going to be. 2 one-loss teams. Notre Dame obviously losing to Northern Illinois. Indiana only losing to Ohio State. But what a fucking game this is going to be. More importantly, this is like a quote-unquote rivalry game. It's not a rivalry game by normal standards, but this could spark a whole new rivalry. 2 teams from the state of Indiana, one of them being a historical franchise. I should say school, they're not a franchise, they're a school. Notre Dame. Indiana being more of a basketball school than a football school, having arguably the best season in Indiana Hoosiers football history. And what a fucking game this is going to be. I cannot wait. I cannot wait for this one. Whoever wins it, however it goes, it's going to be lightning, fireworks, unbelievable matchup. I am so excited. So excited for this game. I cannot wait to see how it falls, how it goes. I think any way this game goes, it's going to be super entertaining and it's going to set up for a great matchup with the Georgia Bulldogs. Now, this game with the Bulldogs is going to depend on if Carson Beck is playing or not. Let's say Carson Beck is out. I believe both Notre Dame and Indiana have a great chance to win against Georgia, assuming Beck is out. If Beck is not out, it could be tough. I'm so hyped for this game. The Battle of Indiana, 2 great teams who have had great seasons, even though I think, again, both teams, this is the battle of a cupcake, you can call it as well. Both teams have had very cupcake schedules. So I guess that's what's good, where two teams who had very cupcake schedules the whole way through are going to play each other, and it's kind of going to determine, who's more of a cupcake and who's not. But anyway, I'm hyped for this game. Hype. Winner gets to play Georgia too. And to wrap up the final matchup, the 8 versus 9 game, Ohio State versus Tennessee. A lot of Tennessee people are upset to see that Ohio State gets the home field advantage and not Tennessee. These two teams could have easily been flipped. Arguably Ohio State's loss to Michigan is worse than any loss that Tennessee had. I mean, depending on how you rate Arkansas, they both had one good loss and one really bad loss. Tennessee lost to Georgia and Arkansas, while Ohio State lost to Oregon and Michigan. This is the best game of the weekend, or the first round, I should say. The best game, by far, the best game. It is going to be so entertaining to see Ohio State take on Tennessee. Ohio State playoff home game. I want to see how Tennessee is going to be able to adjust to the weather and shit, because don't forget, it's going to be cold as fuck in Ohio, and it might be tough for a team like Tennessee, who's usually more accustomed to warmer weather climate, to go up there and play them. Now, matchup-wise, this game is going to be unbelievable. I'm not going to get into the details. I'll save that for my prediction video. I already kind of know who I'm going to pick in this game. But matchup-wise, both of these teams' biggest strength expose the other team's biggest weakness. And it's going to be so interesting to see who leans into their strengths, who leans into the other team's weaknesses, and how it plays out. This is by far the game I am most hyped for. I mean, I'm hyped for all these games. This is the beauty of the 12-team playoff. You can scream and cry about the matchups, how it all fell, but all of you have to admit, no matter who plays who, it's going to be fireworks and pure entertainment. I cannot wait to see how this game goes. I'm hyped, and best part of all, winner takes on Oregon. So either we have Tennessee versus Oregon, which is going to be a great game, or even better, you're going to have Oregon take on Ohio State for a rematch of earlier in the season, now at a neutral site. Unbelievable game. The bracket turned out to be pretty good, and anyone who wins this game, Tennessee or Ohio State, Clemson, Texas, Indiana, Notre Dame, and SMU, Penn State, any team wins any combination of those 4 matchups, it's going to be amazing. It's going to be amazing. I cannot wait. For this college football playoff to start. It's going to be a bettor's dream. It's going to be a college football fan's dream. Absolutely great matchups. I am hype. Those are my reactions to the new 12-team college football playoff and the official bracket. Stay tuned for my predictions and the president's predictions coming real soon.